How's it guys, this is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now with less than 3 weeks left till the start of FPL and that dreaded Game Week 1 deadline where all our teams have to be finalized, I'll be starting my kind of position review series where I cover defenders, midfielders and forwards and kind of talk about the best budget, mid-range and premium options for you all. So this video we're going to be going over the best FPL defenders and which kind of players you should be looking at depending on your budget constraints. So first things first, the Dayvy vs the World Community League is up and running. The code to join is BDFI35. Thanks to all of you guys who have joined. We have quite a couple people in there. So if you have not joined, I recommend you do. And yeah, I'm sure we're going to have lots of fun in that. And hopefully in some live streams, I'll be going over a couple of your guys' teams. Some general points I just want to go over before we get into this video and kind of the nitty gritty stuff is I'm going to have three kind of price ranges for this. I have the budget options, the mid-range and the premium. The budget come in at around 4.5, mid-range around 5.5 and premium or any options that are 6 million and above in price. Some other things are we're going to be looking at the first 10 fixtures in the Premier League season. I kind of use this 10 fixtures as a guideline for when we're going to be using the first wildcard. That's not saying that we're going to be using our first wildcard in the first 10 game weeks, but we kind of are assured to be using it before the first like 18. So not that many extra games on that 10 fixtures. Also, there could be other defensive options that are really good, but their fixtures towards the start of the season are quite bad. I'm kind of looking at Richie from Newcastle, who's out of position currently in preseason, as an option like that. His fixtures are quite bad, but he could be a great option towards the middle or end of the season. Another thing is that I've tried to not put the same team twice, so I've kind of looked for the best option from a specific team in my opinion. The best example of this will be that later in the video I put a Liverpool defender, and the reason I didn't put all the Liverpool defenders is that will make the video a little bit repetitive and redundant. So I've just put the kind of best option I thought, but you could go for variants of those and you can easily switch them in and out depending on your preference. So the first budget option we're going to talk about is Charlie Taylor, and he was in my first initial draft for the season. He comes in at 4.5, which makes him quite cheap, and last season he played basically every game. He ended the season with 7 clean sheets and 1 assist, but last season was not kind of stereotypical of Burnley, as they didn't keep that many clean sheets. They were actually quite poor defensively. So my thinking is I'm hoping that they kind of get that defensive form back this season and he becomes a great budget option. Burnley have quite nice fixtures, as I spoke about in my best fixture kind of review. That Arsenal away fixture is not the worst in the world, and they do play Liverpool and Chelsea at home. They do have a lot of two difficulty fixtures between that, nice green fixtures. So Charlie Taylor is someone that I would look at in that budget option. Another budget option at 4.5 is DIOP from West Ham United. He plays centre-back for them, and he was also in my initial draft as he comes in quite cheap and he's almost secured of a position along with Balbuena at that centre-back place. He played basically every game last season and he finished with, again, 7 clean sheets and 1 goal, which is a little bit different. The centre-backs in this video will be listed with goals, whereas the wing-backs will kind of be listed with assists. That's just how it comes down to centre-backs usually go up for set pieces, but full-backs kind of assist crosses and that kind of thing. So if you can disregard the first fixture of West Ham, which is Man City at home, which I'm pretty sure they will concede in, but if you think they'll keep a clean sheet, you can play him. But if I brought him in, I would be sitting him out for that one, and then I would be playing him for the rest of the fixtures, except for maybe those Man United and Everton games. So comes in quite cheap, and the West Ham defense is not the worst in the world, so I would be looking at him for another budget option. Another budget option, and our last budget option, I think, or maybe we have one more, is Adam Smith from Bournemouth. He comes in at 4.5 as well, and Bournemouth have some very nice fixtures, except for obviously that Man City at home. But you can easily bench him as he is quite cheap. He played quite a few minutes, 2,067 last season. He wasn't the most secured starter, but the thing I like about him is that he's quite a versatile player. You can easily see him chopping and changing into midfield, which then makes him out of position. We're just going to kind of have to see with preseason where he is playing, but he usually plays in that fullback position for Bournemouth, but they have made a couple of signings in those positions, so he could see his spot under threat. He kept 8 clean sheets last season and scored 1 goal. The thing that interests me about this is that with Bournemouth, everyone kind of didn't trust their defense, but they actually kept 1 more clean sheet than most of these other teams I'm talking about, so they could not be that bad defensively. One thing to watch with Bournemouth is if Nathan Ake does depart to another club, they could be a little bit vulnerable at the back, as I don't really trust their substituting centre backs. So one to keep your eye on, especially at that 4.5 million range. Okay, so we have one more budget option, and it is Lewis Dunk. I know a lot of us are kind of holding a grudge against Brighton defenders, especially Shane Duffy after that double game week kind of blank that he secured last season when a lot of us put the captaincy on him. Lewis Dunk is a cheap alternative to Shane Duffy, who comes in at 5 million. Lewis Dunk is 4.5, and he offers a little lesser goal threat, but he still is quite a solid pick in my opinion. He played basically every minute last season, and he kept 7 clean sheets and scored 2 goals. That's the reason why he's kind of a little bit less than Shane Duffy, is that he scored a little bit, has a little bit less attacking threat, but still a great option in my opinion. You'd probably play him for quite a few fixtures, but not for that Man City, Chelsea and Spurs game. With these options, I would kind of have them on your bench, and you can easily rotate them in when they have a nice home fixture, or just a nice fixture in general if you don't want to play another player. So that's going to kind of wrap up the entry-level players. So these are options that I would consider, especially because a lot of us, our budgets are quite stretched with our Salahs and our Sterlings, so you could opt for some of these defenses. Next, we're going to go into the mid-ranged pick, which is my Man City pick. OLEKSANDR ZINCHENKO comes in at 5.5. The reason I'm having him in my team right now, even though he didn't play a lot of minutes last season, he played 1,151, but kept 9 clean sheets in that kind of those minutes played, which basically translates to almost a clean sheet every game he played. He registered 3 assists as well, which is quite good, and especially with the way Man City play, they're very attacking, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on their fullbacks, as they could offer quite a bit of attacking threat. Now, the reason I have ZINCHENKO in my team is that Benjamin Mendy, as you know, is struggling to get fitness over there in Barcelona. He's kind of on a little bit of a camp, kind of regained fitness. As you know, he's quite injury prone. So I would keep my eye on ZINCHENKO. I would also keep my eye on the news of Man City, as Mendy is rumored to come back towards the end of July, so he could win that spot back. So with ZINCHENKO, he comes in at 5.5, the cheapest of the kind of sustainable Man City options, and everyone is kind of happy, as the other option is Laporte, who comes in at about 6.5. So $1 million extra, and then our FPL budgets, that's quite a bit. Man City have nice fixtures on top of it. They are one of those kind of fixture-proof teams. You can kind of play them against anyone, and with that Tottenham at home game, you probably will play them as well, and that Everton away game as well. So you're basically going to be having a set starter if Mendy is injured for your 10 game weeks, for probably the best side in the Premier League, and you can't really argue with that at that price. Our next 5.5 is WAN-BISSAKA. I'm not going to do too much talking on him, as I've basically copied the slide from my best signings of the season. So you can go watch that video if you want to talk a little bit about, or hear a little bit more about him. But I've kept him in my squad, as I think that he'll improve that Man United defense overall, but I don't know if he will dramatically improve it. He had a very good season at Crystal Palace with 12 clean sheets and 3 assists. Way more than Man United managed to score last season, so I'm hoping that he comes in and is able to show them up a little bit defensively, and then we'll have a nice 5.5 option to look at. And as you know, Manchester United options are quite popular, so he could become a little bit template. They start off the season quite badly with a fixture against Chelsea, but they do have them at home. And as I said in my previous video, they have all their tough fixtures at home, which is an advantage in my opinion. But go look at my other video if you want more information on WAN-BISSAKA. So coming in last of our kind of mid-range options here at 5.5 is Benjamin Chilwell from Leicester. He comes in at 5.5, cheaper than Pereira, who comes in at 6, and that's just because Pereira offered a little bit more attacking threat last season. Chilwell played basically every minute and managed to keep 10 clean sheets and 5 assists, which are pretty good statistics in my opinion. Leicester's fixtures aren't the best in the world, but they do have some nice in-between fixtures there that you can kind of slot them in. And with Chilwell, you're kind of hoping for attacking threat as well. So play him against the big teams anyway, and hopefully you can get a goal or an assist. So I'm keeping my eye on Benjamin Chilwell, as a lot of us are looking at Leicester's attackers, but not a lot of people are looking at us at their defenders. So with Maguire rumoured to be moving to Manchester United, it's kind of one to keep a watch out for, as I think that if Maguire does move on, it kind of leaves him a little bit vulnerable, as their substitute centre-backs aren't the best in the world. And with Wes Morgan kind of moving on a little bit with age, there is some worry in that department. So now moving on to our premium options, which are probably all well known to you. We start off with Lucas Digne coming in at 6 million from Everton, and I've been kind of an advocate for Everton's fixtures. They have some very nice fixtures. Obviously, just that Man City at home fixture in game week 7 isn't the greatest, but Lucas Digne offers us goal threat as well. He played almost all minutes last season and managed to keep 13 clean sheets with 5 assists, and in brackets they're 4 goals, because that's very impressive, and I couldn't just list his 5 assists without complimenting his goals. Those 4 goals came from very varied set pieces and sometimes even some strikes outside the box. So that's one thing to note, is that he could be on free kicks, direct free kicks, but he probably will be in a competition with Sigurdsson there. So hopefully he will win that free kick taking spot, and then we could have a great kind of almost out of position player there with those set pieces. But he plays fullback for Everton and probably will be in my team. You could opt for the cheaper Coleman, who offers very good stats as well, but I think that set piece threat from Lucas Digne just makes him worth that extra 0.5 mil. And now we move on to CESAR AZPILICUETA. It comes in at 6 million as well, the centre back or right back for Chelsea. It's going to be a little bit interesting to see where he plays this upcoming season. And I think a lot of people are overlooking Chelsea and their options, as they probably weren't that favoured last season. But if you look at his stats, he did keep 16 clean sheets and get 6 assists, which at 6 million is quite value in my opinion. I think that we're overlooking them a little bit because of that Man United away starting fixture, but their fixtures are actually quite nice in the end. They just have that Liverpool at home fixture in game week 6, but that is a home game, so anything could happen there. And in between, they have some very nice fixtures. So I definitely think that AZPILICUETA is coming into my draft thoughts, and I could opt for him, as he is almost nailed, or definitely nailed, at that Chelsea lineup. I think he played every minute last season, but that could be varied a little bit. So don't hold me on that fact. Now the last option, and my favoured Liverpool option, is Andrew Robertson. I just favour him as he is the most nailed in my opinion in that Liverpool side. He comes in at 7 million, but when you look at his stats, 21 clean sheets and 12 assists, you can kind of understand why he does come in quite expensive. 7 million is a good price for him, even though it is quite expensive, but I'm sure a lot of us are going to be having him in our teams. Obviously, you can go for his teammates Virgil van Dijk or Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I've just opted for Andy Robertson, as he is the most nailed in my opinion. So with their fixtures, they have some very nice fixtures up until about game week 8, but I'll be looking to maybe get rid if Liverpool aren't in the best form then, because then they go on a run of basically playing every top 6 side in the league. But I'll be having him in from the start, and hopefully he plays all the games. As I said, he is quite nailed, and Liverpool don't really seem to have a replacement for the Scotsman. So that's going to wrap up our premium options and our entire video here. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please like the video if you did enjoy, and hopefully I've offered you some options to kind of deliberate on and kind of put in your template or your template teams or your draft teams that you're looking at. Please subscribe if you're new to FPL or just to my channel, and if you're enjoying the content, and hopefully we're going to be bringing you a lot more in the future. So subscribe so that you don't miss any of it. But otherwise, I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.